What's up, gamers? Aaron Shack here with episode 44 of the Shackcast. Today's episode will be about Palestine, about the genocide that is happening to the Palestinians because of Israel and the Zionist culture that exists there. Check out my merch store on Spring. Link is in the description. You'll find apparel, homeware, accessories, pet stuff, and drinkware, all designed around my brand. I'm proud to sport this stuff myself, and I know you will enjoy it as much as I do. Profits from the merch store support the podcast and the YouTube channel. Take a look and see if anything suits you. I have a wide arrangement of colors and sizes, with many designs being rotated in constantly. Listen to the podcast and check in regularly for coupon codes. Thank you for your support. Now, of course, all this came to a head recently, at least, from the events of October the 7th, where, Hamas chose to do some crazy stuff, which was, cross the border, murder people, ignite a war, essentially. But what has happened in the aftermath is completely inexcusable. It's bombings of civilians, men, women, children. It's bombing hospitals. It's bombing schools. It's dragging people out into the streets, taking all their clothes off, and marching them into concentration camps, which is what's happening now. And it's branding every single person as a potential terrorist and creating that image through propaganda, whether it's on Twitter or whether it's, on the news, American media, embedded with the IDF. There's a lot of propaganda happening on that angle. So why do I want to talk about it? This is mostly a tech and gaming podcast, but occasionally I have taken moments to acknowledge things that touch us in our personal lives, and this one being extremely close to me, and I've talked about it on the podcast before, when we had some issues back in 2021 where Israel was just relentlessly bombing Palestinians. And they're doing it now, but I mean, what we've had in just months has been over 20,000 dead, and over half of them are children. That's inexcusable, right? We go to the Holocaust museums, we see, the movies, the TV shows, the stuff we encounter in that museum, say never again. We look at the worst and worst of the atrocities that the Nazis did, and then at the end of the museum, they point out that, hey, there's things going on in Syria, there's things going on in Yemen, and Palestine. And you just see that, God, we just haven't learned anything, have we, since then? And that's what's the most shocking part, is that we say never again, but it really only seems to apply to people that are white. Because it only seems to matter when it's the Jewish people being, hurt, or acts of genocide are happening to them. It happens to anyone else. The Uyghur Muslims over in China, literal concentration camps over there, being just straight up murdered, right? Everything that's going on in Syria, it's not a contest here. Even what's going on in the Ukraine, right? We bring up that Russia invades Ukraine and starts killing and murdering innocent people, bombing buildings, schools, churches, the whole deal, right? But the U.S. immediately comes to their aid. Why is that? Well, Russia's an immediate threat, whereas Israel is an ally. We give them most of their weapons, nuclear arms. We're the reason that they are a nuclear force on the planet. Also, we gave them the Iron Dome, which protects them from missile strikes, So all this technology and weaponry that we're sharing comes from American tax dollars, which is the worst part of this whole scenario, is that regardless of where you're for or against the genocide of Palestinians, there's really not much you can do when your tax dollars and your representatives are bought and sold by the AI PAC, right? So PACs being an issue, political action committees, essentially being able to buy out representation, which is supposed to represent what the people want and why we elect these people. But nevertheless, you have these political action committees that come in and bribe all these representatives, senators, etc., with all this money, and then they end up saying, in the face of absolute violence, evil, pure evil, and wrongdoing in the world, they look at this and they say, no, Israel's the good guy. And it's like, you can look on TV, you can look on the news, you can see independent Palestinian journalists. They're running around the streets with their cameras, documenting the bombings, pulling children out of the rubble and showing, hey, this was a school or this was a hospital, and women and children were seeking shelter there. And what does Israel do? They try to spin it, and they try to say, oh, well, no, that's Hamas has been hiding there. There's a bunch of weapons. And what happens when we get to go into the hospital and we see, oh, there's no secret tunnels. There's no weapons stowed in there. And, oh, the IDF actually was the one that brought weapons in to create the facade, the setup of that. And there's even multiple videos online of the IDF just like running into random schools and stuff and just firing at the walls and desks and chairs and stuff to make it look like they're getting in encounters with Hamas and they're having fights and stuff like that. It's just completely insane, the level of propaganda that they're pushing, and that even places like CNN and all these other channels in the US are just parroting that stuff openly and not verifying it. Even Joe Biden lying about, the beheaded babies and stuff like that. There was never any proof of those statements. I mean, facts matter, and you can't just parrot stuff that obviously a biased party is pushing out as propaganda to control the narrative. So what I have for you in the description down below is a bunch of Twitter accounts, different creators that you can follow for the latest and most accurate news on Palestine. Number one is Motaz. Motaz is a photographer, a documenter, a press member who is actively there in Gaza documenting everything that's happening on video, in photos, the whole deal. You will see a lot of things, and I hate to say it, you see a lot of things that we should never have to see, right? I mean, you see dads and moms running with their limp, dead children in their arms that they just pulled out of the rubble, and they're bloody and beaten and bruised, and they're bringing them into the hospital, and they're like, please, save my child, when it's very clear that there's nothing left, right? And I mean, we're seeing entire families being massacred, okay? Not just mom, dad, brother, sister. Like, we're talking grandfather, grandmother, cousins, uncles, aunts, everyone you've imagine your entire family dying. Your entire family line dying in the course of a month or two. You can't even relate to that. As an American, as UK, wherever you're from, unless you're in Gaza right now, or unless you're in, the occupied state that Israel manages here of Palestine, unless you're there, you don't know what this is like. There is no comparison right now for what this is like. You do not know what this experience is like. It is really hard to empathize with that because you just don't know what it's like. You can pretend and you can say, wow, that sounds really bad. And, oh, I could, you could put yourself in someone else's shoes and say, oh my gosh, that would be super traumatic if my 4-year-old son was the last living member of the entire line of the family, because everyone else was killed in a bombing in a hospital, or they were told to flee south and then Israel bombed them in the south, right? Or, hey, they were in a refugee camp and then Israel decided to bomb the refugee camp like they did multiple times on the same camp. It's absolutely freaking ridiculous that that's even gotten this far, right? With World War II, we knew what the Nazis were doing was wrong. We knew about the concentration camps, and we put an end to that stuff. And we're seeing it happen on TV, wall-to-wall coverage. You go on Twitter, you see the unfiltered stuff from people like Motaz and other people in the list that have been having conversations and covering and sharing all this information about what's happening there. There is no mistaking it. It is pure evil, and it is purely wrong. Now, how can you be a part of the solution, right? You're probably wondering, like, well, hey, if I try to donate money, it's not going to get food or water or, proper sewage treatment, power, phones, all that stuff into Gaza and the West Bank, which we can't forget about. I'm going to loop back around to that in a second. But how can I help, right? Because Israel is controlling what gets in. And Egypt doesn't allow anything to come in from the south. Israel isn't letting anything come in from the north. There was only a brief period when there was a ceasefire and Hamas was releasing hostages, and then Israel was also releasing their hostages. And that is the correct term, because what they had were innocent men, women, and children too, that they would abduct randomly off the streets and throw them in prison for no reason, no charges, 7-8 years, and this would be the first time for them to see their families. And you know what they would tell them? They'd say, you can't celebrate in the streets like the Jewish are. You have to go celebrate indoors, because if not, we'll arrest you again, or we'll kill you. Either way, right? So the double standard is that they can't let people see that. So they don't. They control it. Now, what happens in the West Bank? I have family in the West Bank. I have family just going to the West Bank right now because they're worried about the situation. So what is it like in the West Bank? Because people say, well, we just want peace. Well, what does peace look like for Palestinians? In the West Bank, it's settlers stealing your land. It's people terrorizing you. It's any time that there's any sort of holiday around religion, whether it's the Christians that live there or the Muslims, the IDF will come and terrorize the church, beat people, arrest them for no reason, just to assert dominance, right? And just to remind everyone that they are the occupier and that you are living in the world's largest open concentration camp, which is Gaza. But with the West Bank, we get an example of what peace looks like, which is not really true, right? Because what do? They terrorize you, they murder you, they arrest you, they steal your land while you're in jail, or they just kill you and then take your land. Now, for the olive farmers that have the olive trees, and that's where we get things like the olive wood to carve figurines. We get olive oil from that. We get olives, right, from all that. All these farmers rely on that for their living, right? But what do? The IDF will come in and chop those trees down, burn them, kill the farmers, arrest them, or arrest the dad until there's not enough money that they have to sell the house and move away, and then they release him from jail, and then you've got nothing left, and you can't do anything, and you just have to leave. So they're very clever about how they steal the land of people that it belongs to, right? My family fled in 1948 due to the war and the fact that Israelis were going door to door and murdering people. The IDF was the army was literally going door to door. If you don't leave, we're killing you. And we lost a lot of friends, a lot of family in that. And we lost land. We lost property because it was stolen, because people just moved in. But had my family not left, I wouldn't be alive today, and some of them probably wouldn't be. And that's the scariest thing to think about. So what does peacetime look like, right? There really never has been. So what do? They bulldoze your homes and they build condos, settlements, and then not only do they say, hey, it's open to all Jews to come move here, but they'll even let Americans come in. As long as you're Jewish, you can come in and be a part of this. Now, it's not necessarily them saying the Jews are the problem, because it's the Zionist Jews that are the problem. And those are the ones that want to exterminate everyone that is not them. And even Jews that are pro-Palestine and that realize that something wrong is happening here, they're beating them in the streets and arresting them too. So there's no winning. The Zionists are essentially the Nazis in this situation, and they're doing the whole thing. The concentration camps, the urinating on dead bodies of Palestinians, the stealing of the land, burning of property, arming the settlers, right? Imagine this. Imagine if the American army armed just regular people and just gave them guns and said, go kill whoever you want and take their land. That's what the IDF does with the settlers that are living there, especially in the West Bank. They roll in and they say, here's some guns to protect you and your family. And by the way, if you want a free pass to go and kill people, boom, there it is. And you can see it. Al Jazeera has covered it very widely, how they would just go and harass the farmers and olive tree farms, just running through the fields, beating, killing, and shooting these people. This is inexcusable. There is no reason this should be happening in a modern society. Doesn't matter where we live. Doesn't matter what our religions are, what our political ideals are, any of that. Remember that the best way to support the channel is to sign up for a membership on the YouTube channel. Members get exclusive channel badges to highlight their continued support over the months and years. As a member, you get access to special emojis expressing a variety of emotions and support for the channel. Members will also receive photo and status updates, early access to select videos, and at higher tiers, access to a members-only Discord channel. Your support is what keeps the Shackcast photography blog and the YouTube channel going. Please like and share the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on a video or a Shackcast episode. Thank you for tuning in. We said never again with the Holocaust, yet one Holocaust does not justify another, and here we are. This is a modern-day Holocaust, and we're watching it happen. Now, I was getting on a little bit about what can you do. Well, one of the fundraisers that I've been doing on the channel is the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund. And you can read more about that. I have links in the description down below. I even have campaign milestones for the live streams that we do here on the channel. All sorts of fun activities and stuff once we reach certain milestones of fundraising. I wanted to bring some levity and some fun and some, video games into this whole situation, because that's part of my passion. But yeah, if you want to be an anonymous donor, you have the options to do that. And if you would just like to donate directly, you can do that as well. That's one of the key places that you can help. Because the one thing that's happened is that all of this indiscriminate bombing has orphaned a lot of Palestinian children. And they need your help. Okay? Someone's got to step up. Someone's got to do it. So, I'm sure there's people adopting and stuff like that, but your money can go a long way towards helping them. And yes, if we can at times figure out ways to get food, water, and power and get the sewage on, because remember, that is all controlled by Israel. So the next thing that's going to happen is disease is going to start taking place, and we're already seeing it now. They're not getting enough food. They're not getting enough water, and this is by the WHO. They're saying, hey, they're not even getting a quarter of what this population should be getting in terms of food and water, right? And there's no power, so they don't get signal out. There's no internet. So it's really hard for those journalists to get their signal out and to publish content and get it out there so we can keep track of what's going on. That's another wing of the propaganda arm, right? That Israel is controlling. So on top of that, you have the sewage that is draining out into the sea because, everything's controlled by Israel. Everything has been shut down because they say that they want their hostages back. Well, what happened when they shot those 3 hostages, right? They were waving the white flag. They took their clothes off and even tried to tell everybody, like, hey, we're some of the hostages. And then they were gunned down because they were mistaken for Palestinians. How does that make that any more right? It would have been okay if they were Palestinian civilians? Huh, interesting. Yeah. I really don't know what else to say. It's unnerving, it's upsetting. I'm running out of words to describe the absolute cruelty, the hatred, the malice, the anger that is taking place around this whole situation. But you know what? There are some good things happening. Because of all this, the world is waking up and realizing free Palestine, no occupation, no Hamas, no Zionism, no illegal settlements, which has been recognized by the UN that those are illegal settlements. There have been several votes on ceasefires, on international laws that Israel has broken, and yet USA stands in defiance as the lawyer of Israel. And so anytime there's votes in the UN, stuff like this, US and Israel and a couple other random island nations are united in voting against it. Now, why would you vote against a ceasefire when there's men, women, and children, innocent civilians? We're not talking anyone else. Why would you stop that? Why would you not want aid to get to those people? Wouldn't you want aid to get there if that was your family? If it was your land? On the double. Now, getting back to the hostages, why would you be indiscriminately bombing the place where those hostages would be? Well, it's because they don't want to send in ground troops. They don't want to deal with the insurgency that Hamas has in there and how they can hide and they can fight. Resistance fighters, guerrilla tactics, it's hard. It's a hard-fought battle. And they don't have the skilled people. Look at the people that are dancing in these TikToks and all these videos in the IDF. They're 18, 20, they're in their 20s. And they're doing their arrhythmic dancing to, Arabic music while they make fun of the people they're killing and urinate on their dead bodies. I've seen the worst of the worst, the scum of the earth out of these people. I have no hatred for anyone. But I think when you do stuff like this, that's at a whole new level of just pure evil and absolute cruelty. And the way that people can still see them do that and say, well, yeah, those are the heroes. They're in the right. I just can't. There's nothing to even try to identify with there. It's just pure evil. And you're just in the wrong, and history will prove it. So that's Palestine. I want to provide you with the resources, charity stuff. It's all in the description down below. You can always check out my Twitter page as well. I am always posting, updating, and in conversations about this stuff. And I really wanted to sit down and just talk about what I think about this Palestine situation before I have guests on and before I, have conversations with people about it. I just kind of wanted to get my unfiltered thoughts out there about what I think about this situation. Now, does it look like any of this is ending? I don't know, because it looks like there's no amount of dead bodies stacked up of men, women, and even children. That seems to be enough. Like, seemed like 10,000 would be a good time for us to call a ceasefire and say, hey, maybe cut the indiscriminate bombing, find a way to do battle with Hamas, but also don't steal people's land and take it away. And we have to also deeply analyze what peace looks like, because it's not the bulldozers running in the middle of the night while they bulldoze people's homes and roads to make living in that area more difficult and so that they can build their settlements. I mean, the whole plan is to level Gaza, which they've done to most of the area, and to essentially build their illegal settlements on that land and have beachfront property that they can sell to the Jewish people. So it's stolen land. They came there after the Holocaust, and they believed that they could steal their land and take it by force. And they forced people out. They murdered people, and it's still going on to this day. It's got to end. And there's no favorable terms. Like, I know Palestinians want the entire country back, and Israel wants they want the entire landmass, and they want more, because they even said to Hezbollah, they said, hey, we'll come into Lebanon if you get involved in this war, and we'll do what we're doing to Gaza to you. And they've even bombed Damascus. They've even gone over there, and they're willing to go to war with Iraq and Syria. And that's insane. I mean, they're talking about starting World War III over this, and they want to take more land and essentially build their settlements everywhere and call the Jewish people to this one land and not allow the Christians, not allow the Muslims to celebrate their faith in that area, because guess what? All of our faiths collide in that area. There's a lot of similar landmarks, places, churches that are old as we are, right? Old as our culture and religion goes, tracing some of that stuff back to the times of Jesus, right? So, I mean, what does it look like? I used to always think it's probably a two-state solution, but Netanyahu has no interest in a two-state solution. He'd rather exterminate all Palestinians. And if you listen to what him and the president and the cabinet and all them, president of Israel, should be very clear on, but listen to what they're talking about. They're talking about extermination. They're not talking, there's no room for a two-state solution. Biden keeps saying, oh yeah, I'll talk to him, and maybe we'll get something eventually. Maybe there'll be peace. But there is no peace in occupation, because guess what? How was World War II during occupation? When different areas of France and Poland were occupied by the Nazis, like, did they just lay down and take it? Did America just decide not to stand up and fight for them? Were the French not allowed to have a resistance and fight against their oppressors? Of course not. And they were treated the exact same way, because I've been there. I've seen it firsthand. When I went to Israel in 2003, I went in 2003, and I saw how they treated people in the West Bank. I saw how they treated my family members that lived there. They had to get day passes to go into certain areas of Jerusalem. They had to have good reasons, and they had to be back by a certain time. Papers being checked at every single checkpoint. Guys had you at gunpoint, and they would treat you roughly, and they would talk trash about you and spit at you. Yeah. I mean, it's exactly the way the Nazis were, with the checkpoints, the concentration camps, all of it. The Israelis have taken that as a blueprint. And then, because we were Americans and Christians, and we were from George Bush's land, Texas, and George Bush was president at the time, George W. Bush, and he was sending a lot of money to Israel, so the soldiers loved us. They treated us really well. They said, oh, right this way, yeah. But your family or whoever's escorting you here, we got to have a word with them. Or, they can't come with you. We don't trust them. Right? You can see the double standards. You think we're beyond this stuff as a society. You think we're beyond this level of cruelty and hatred and discrimination. Still very much there. So, I mean, I have more I can share, and I don't want to just go on like a massive rant, but I mean, I think it's important that we discuss issues like this and we try to work towards like what does peace look like? And we have to be honest about what's happening over there, and we have to bring that truth to light. And that's why people are marching in the streets all over the United States, all over the UK. Streets are packed day and night, day in and day out. And it's because people see. People can see. You can't tell them what they see with their eyes and what they hear with their ears is wrong. That there is genocide happening there and that people are being mass murdered. And we're just doing nothing about it but either ranting on Twitter or just, it just feels like you can't do enough because our leaders don't pay attention. And how else are you going to handle it other than voting, all this stuff? And Palestinians aren't allowed to have their own army because you end up with something like Hamas. But even if they had just like a resistance force, right, that just defended them and they fought for independence or something like that, it would still be deemed a terrorist group, regardless of whether they perform terrorism or not. That's how they spin things. So, I mean, it's just very important to look at all this. I mean, Palestinians are just not allowed to exist, and they're being exterminated. And it's cruel, and it's wrong, and it is pure evil. So, if you want to be a part of the solution, check out the links in the description down below. Donate to the PCRF. Follow some of these incredible people on Twitter. Some are game developers that are very knowledgeable on the Palestinian stuff. They can translate a lot of stuff from Arabic, and the rest are a lot of reporters and news people, journalists, all on the ground or surrounding themselves in the issues that are happening there, and the most direct, unbiased sources that you can get, showing you what it's really like on the streets, because it's really easy to see what the IDF posts, and it's really easy to see what American media, UK media, all these various places are posting about the issue because they piggyback off what the IDF says, and you don't get the real raw facts of what's happening. So let's try to work towards peace. Let's try to figure out what that looks like. And I think it's not going to be a two-state solution. I think it's going to have to be no illegal settlements, no Hamas, no Zionism. You have to learn to share the land and live in peace amongst each other like grown-up adults. And you just have to learn to love each other, whether you like each other or not. You just gotta, I mean, the world is big enough to house us all, and we need to take care of each other. We don't need to be murdering each other and killing each other indiscriminately. And yeah, there probably needs to be some form of reparations and the stolen land and stuff like that. And I think the settlements have to go. I think they have to be just completely bulldozed because they're illegal. That's stolen land that did not belong. We have to do our best to get that land back to the people that it belongs to. And you know what? Don't worry. There's room for people all over the world, but Palestinians shouldn't have to leave their native land because Jews are exterminating them and forcing them to leave. I'm Aaron Shack. I want to thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting the channel. This has been Shackcast, episode 44, where we talked about Palestine today. Won't be the first, because it isn't, and it won't be the last time that we talk about it. But I wanted to get some initial thoughts out there. I wanted to speak clearly and openly about it. And I'd love to have more conversations on this. So if you are involved in this situation, if you're a game developer or a journalist around the Palestinian conflict that is happening here, I would love to sit down and have conversations. Just shoot me a business email. I've got that in my description, in my bio, on Twitter, anywhere you want to hit me up. I would love to have people on as a guest on the show. So once again, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Take care. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye. Check out my merch store on Spring. Link is in the description. You'll find apparel, homeware, accessories, pet stuff, and drinkware, all designed around my brand. I'm proud to sport this stuff myself, and I know you will enjoy it as much as I do. Profits from the merch store support the podcast and the YouTube channel. Take a look and see if anything suits you. I have a wide arrangement of colors and sizes, with many designs being rotated in constantly. Listen to the podcast and check in regularly for coupon codes. Thank you for your support. Remember that the best way to support the channel is to sign up for a membership on the YouTube channel. Members get exclusive channel badges to highlight their continued support over the months and years. As a member, you get access to special emojis expressing a variety of emotions and support for the channel. Members will also receive photo and status updates, early access to select videos, and at higher tiers, access to a members-only Discord channel. Your support is what keeps the Shackcast photography blog and the YouTube channel going. Please like and share the video and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Don't forget to ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on a video or a Shackcast episode. Thank you for tuning in.